So, you know what I find to be really interesting is that, no matter how hard you try, no matter how well you think you're doing in life, or how much you're accomplishing as like a childless woman in her mid 30s or 40s, sometimes it just takes like one question or one look from someone to make you question your worth because you don't have children. And it's like society has conditioned us, and we are constantly trying to decondition ourselves from this. And I know that my circumstances could change any day. Like maybe I could meet someone today, I could get married, or maybe I'll still end up having kids one way or another. But right now, I am really okay with where I'm at. It's been difficult, but I'm okay with where I'm at right now. But for example, a couple of months ago, I went to this fundraiser event, and it was largely focused on humanitarian efforts. And I was seated next to this woman who had just had a baby. So I was asking her a couple of questions. I was just trying to be curious. I was trying to be polite. I was just making small talk, asking her about, her baby and being a mother and, little things like this. And then, she turns to me and she goes, "Well, do you have kids?" And I said, "No, I don't." And then she says, "Are you married?" And I said, "No, I'm not." And I don't even care to tell people that I was divorced. It doesn't bring any value to say I was once married. I don't care. So at that moment, when she said, when I said I'm not married, I don't have kids, at that moment, she just looked so completely bored. She had lost complete interest in me. And I was like, you know what? You're not even that interesting. I was just trying to be polite. But I feel like I'm now in this age bracket where it's so different, and I'm treated differently, and I have to try even harder to be okay with where I am. And it's definitely not an easy thing. And then a couple of, I'd say 2 months ago, I went to a friend's kid's birthday party, and I was, just hanging out with the parents. And one of the dads was like, "So what do you do? How do you spend your time?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he was like, "What do you do all day?" And I was looking around, I saw these kids, and I was like, okay, what is he really asking here? Is he saying what meaning do you have, or what purpose do you have if it's not in your kids to consume your time? Or is he just genuinely curious? As a child-free woman, what are all the cool things that I'm doing? I don't know. I took it to mean if you don't have kids, what on earth are you doing? What value, what fills up your time? What are you pouring yourself into? And so I just, I played it cool. I was like, oh, I do all these things. I'm dancing, I'm doing yoga, I do a lot of traveling, meditation, and I just sort of played it cool. But I think I understood the tone, and maybe people just forget what life is like, and maybe they're just a little bit nostalgic or want to live vicariously through you or whatever. But it felt like, if you don't have children, what is your bigger meaning? What is your bigger purpose? And I just think it's like I said, it's so hard sometimes to come to terms with where you are, especially if this wasn't the life that you thought you would have. And it takes a lot to handle these social groups, and I'm totally okay with where I am, but sometimes I notice it just takes one question to kind of rub me the wrong way and make me question myself, and then I just have to sit with myself and do a little bit of extra work for the most part. But it's just that one little thing sometimes. But yeah, and you know what I mean, and it's fine. I'm happy to navigate life, travel, and do all of these amazing things, and and if this is where I'm at, I accept myself wholeheartedly. And again, maybe things will change, but for now, this is where I am, and I'm very confident, I'm very secure. But sometimes it's just so weird sometimes it just, those questions, they just really get to you, and they make you just kind of sit with yourself a little bit more. And then you pick up and you move on.